This is way worse than we thought. And what's been a crazy season of ups and downs to the Toronto Blue Jays, there is one player and one note in particular surrounding that player that is not only worse than Jays fans initially thought, but things have taken a wild turn. Break down exactly who that is and discuss what that metric is, as well as break down a few other updates ahead of tonight's game against, and the series opener against the Oakland Athletics, as well as some other updates around the board. But before we get into it, folks, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support's been unbelievable. You've been beasts. So thank you guys for that. As we're on the road again to 20,000 subscribers here, thank you guys for your support. And bear with the setup. I'm back in my home setup tomorrow. I'm currently in Toronto. Going to be going to the game tonight against the Athletics. So hopefully I can provide them some good luck here. But Toronto Blue Jays, they are in a very interesting spot. Big win yesterday. The offense is still struggling. But speaking of the offense, there's been one player who's been struggling in particular, and that is Anthony Santander. Unfortunate reality is, it doesn't look like it's going to get much better extremely soon. Now, you can see here, Blue Jays Anthony Santander is suffering a concerning drop in one key metric. The Toronto Blue Jays have to be concerned with one decreasing metric of Anthony Santander's game. Now, we know Santander, I've been saying on the channel, I wanted him in the offseason. He's a power hitter. He was exactly what the Jays needed, and he's known over the course of his career for very, very slow starts. Now, with all that being said, he is at an all-time low here, and it is really bad. So coming off a campaign where he hit a career-high 44 home runs, he drove in 102 RBIs last year, which is crazy. We all, expected Santander to be very good, though it was a risk because of his lack of on-base percentage, lack of average, all these different things. But since coming over to the Jays, if you look at the advanced metrics and actually dive in deeper than just, hey, we all know if you watch the Jays games, or even if you don't, you can just look at the numbers. Santander has not been anywhere nearly as good as what anyone thought, but he's also been just one of the worst players in baseball. But his underlying metrics include a barrel rate of 5% that has suffered the third largest decline from 2024 to 2025 among qualified hitters. With Santander struggling, Toronto's lineup lacks thump, and it is a very accurate point. And, most people don't realize, not only is Santander, you can tell his eye isn't there right now. He's not making a ton of contact. We're also going to dive into an injury surrounding his that, makes things worse than we initially thought as well. But his barrel rate has dropped down to 5%, which is one of the worst drops in the major leagues. And there's a difference between, of course, struggling and just not feeling yourself, but also having advanced metrics, whether that be bat speed, whether that be barrel percentage, that directly correlate to poor performance. And we saw with George Springer, when he started to have his decline over the past few years, that was directly attributed to his bat speed. He's made adjustments and he's looked better this season, although struggling as of late. Santander, in year one of a 5-year, $92 million deal, has already seen a huge drop in barrel rate now. Is that because of an injury? Is that because of him just being uncomfortable? There's a lot of things, within that, but he has seen a massive decline. You can see at the bottom there, a Baseball Savant page that includes several statistics above the league average is now full of numbers exclusively below league average, many of which are concerningly low for a DH in the first year of a long-term deal. Now, he's not a primary, DH. He plays a lot of outfield. He's not great at outfield, but he at least helps spread things out a little bit. But that's very, very concerning. And it really begs the question, because you look over the course of his career, how usually in the first 42 games he struggles. You think back to, they're basically the same for all year. Now, this year, through 42 games, 6 home runs. 2024, 7 home runs, finished with 44. 2023, 8 home runs after 42 games, finished with 28 home runs. And then, he always picks it up as the season goes on. Is there reason to believe that he won't do that this year? There is, and it's these advanced analytics. And whether or not you want to believe fully in advanced analytics, or if you think they're, good or bad for the game, all these different things. What's known for sure, he's not barreling the ball well, he's not swinging the bat very fast, and he's not making hard contact. And that ultimately, for a player of his stature and just what he does, isn't going to hold up, unfortunately, at this level. And they're not going to send him down. They're going to let him figure it out. He has the track record to figure it out and be given the ability to figure it out. But there's also something to be said about an injury. Now, Keegan Madison came out yesterday and said Anthony Santander said that his shoulder and hip issues are helping him limit big swings, which should help him make more contact, but that's not his game. His game is a 240 average with 30 home runs. I don't think we're seeing him close to his natural self right now. And this is obviously, the most concerning piece of it all, because clearly there's some correlation here between his injury and between what we're seeing with his one key metric that is dropped. Really, if you look at his Savant page, it's more than just one metric. It is a bunch of metrics that have dropped at this point that have limited him to being where he is now, which is, of course, dealing with a bunch of shoulder issues, dealing with hip issues, but also not being able to hit for power. Now, he's saying that his injury, and he basically came out and said, I'm going to try to make contact more because of the injuries limiting my power and the ability to take hard swings and to barrel the ball. If you're relying on Santander to be a power hitter, you're in good shape. If you're relying on him to be a contact hitter and have to adjust your swing in that way, you're not in good shape because that's not what his game is. He's never been his game. He's never had above a 900 OPS in his career. He rarely has had above an 800 OPS in his career. We saw last year he had an 818 OPS. It is scary, and hopefully things will take a turn for the good because this team, they're hovering around 500. The only way they're going to get above 500 is obviously the pitching being good, which it has been, the bullpen being good, which it has been. But Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Anthony Santander, those three guys need to be the guys who specifically come out and not only hit better. Even Vladdy and Bo, they're both in that, they've been okay, but they haven't been nearly the players that they need to be in order for this team to be really successful and really, convincingly fight for a playoff spot. Of course, we saw yesterday, Bichette, a pinch hit, top of the ninth, 2-run home run to, win them the game, a huge game to win the series against Texas. But regardless of that, they need more out of their players. And you look at some of their offseason acquisitions, they've gotten a combined negative .5 WAR from those three acquisitions. Max Scherzer, Anthony Santander, Andres Gimenez have combined for a minus .5 WAR. And for what many considered a good offseason, I still think it was overall. You have now the second half of the year, and even, we're not obviously halfway through yet, but as you approach the first half and the end of the first half, the All-Star break, the trade deadline, you need to be able to go out and actually make additions that are not only going to make this team better, because the guys that they've had on their team right now mostly have taken, steps in some regard to allow them to even be close to 500. You need to get something from the guys you're paying money for. $15 million for Max Scherzer. Hopefully he's coming back soon. Santander, Andres Gimenez, all those guys. Things have taken a scary turn, but hopefully the trajectory continues in a positive manner for Anthony Santander there. But a couple other notes here for this weekend's probables. Again, a 4-game set here against the Athletics. Berríos, Chris Bassett figured out on Saturday against former Jays prospect Gunnar Hoglund, and then, of course, Kevin Gosse versus J.P. Sears. So this should be a series where the Jays win 3 out of 4 minimum. These are the series where you need to take advantage. You sweep the Padres and you lose to the Rays. You get swept by the Rays, and then you win 2 out of 3 against the Rangers. The team has been so up and down. This is the time now against a very poor Athletics team. Yes, they started off the season very well, but they've been struggling a lot as of late. And you're also dealing with guys like Bichette, who's dealing with lower back tightness. They're trying to keep him off of his feet. I wouldn't be surprised in tonight's game if he's the DH. Hopefully he plays, but they're being extra careful. I think the fact that he pinch hit yesterday means he probably gets in as the DH tonight. See an elevated role for Ernie Clement, all these different things. So it is a very busy time of year, but this Jays team needs to figure it out. They're going to make trade deadline acquisitions. That's obviously going to happen as well, but to get negative value and one of the worst values in the league from Anthony Santander, and then of course the other two guys who haven't really played very much, being Max Scherzer, but Gimenez has played a lot. But since his injury, it's going to be, interesting. Obviously, Gimenez, hopefully, he's known as a pretty durable guy. Hopefully, he can come back and be a durable player. But regardless, they weren't getting much of him offensively at all when he was healthy anyways. So hopefully this time off gives him a bit of a break here. But again, Eric Swanson also on the way back. Andres Gimenez is beginning a rehab stint with Loe Dunedin yesterday. Slated for 7 innings at second base. He hit a ground rule double in his Dunedin debut of this year. He's going to be okay. I want him back now. His defense is obviously big, but also he's a player that you need to play well in order for this team to, really be good. Not the same way that Bo and Vladdy are, but Gimenez has, a ceiling of 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 in his prime WAR if he can figure out his bat. And I want to give him the ability to do that. So let us know down below what your thoughts are on this. Gimenez is going to be returning soon. Hopefully Max Scherzer, all these different guys. But a series starts tonight against Jacob Lopez and the Oakland Athletics. So let me know down below what your thoughts are. A ton of things coming out, a ton of different news coming out. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.